Hi folks, Sharp Neck Limited, Charlie here, and today we're going to be talking about how I'm going to try to detail this LionChief 060 switcher. Now there are lots of videos showing this train in action online, and I tend to agree with people who say this is a great little locomotive that's relatively affordable for Lionel's line. This is $250, which is not necessarily cheap, but it is pretty cheap for Lionel train. And what's nice is it has a lot of features and a lot of things that have going for it. Like it does have, lots of rivet detail. This is a die cast. You have two different operating couplers. Very respectable looking drive gear, and you do have some separately applied and metal handrails. And then if you take a look here, you have a bell. Oh, actually that's not a bell, that's a whistle. This is a bell. Here, this light and this light turn on depending on which direction you're going. So it's a fun little locomotive that has a lot of utility for me on my relatively small layout to do switching and there's plenty of detail that I can be happy with. But when I look at it, the one thing it doesn't scream to me is it's not really like, it still feels a little bit like a toy. And the reason is because it doesn't have some of the detail that some of my other locomotives have. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is a Lionel Legacy. It's my H10 that I got from Lionel, and it is it broke down once. The electronics kind of fried within the first year. I'm sad about that. I had to get it fixed. I'm kind of probably going to stick with post-war for the most part because it's cheaper and I can fix it. But I keep this one around because it's nice. It is a beautiful model. Different things on the top here, like the check valves and the bell, but it also has things that the LionChief switcher doesn't have. Like, for example, this air pump and then all the pipes and plumbing that are involved in getting that the air brake to work. And then on the other side, there are other things like an injector pump for the water to be put into the boiler and other things. So the one thing, though, that is similar is this is kind of like what a new Lionel train looks like. The the smoke box, that is very bright and shiny, and it doesn't look like really weathered. I like it weathered. I like how when it looks like it's been through a lot, it's actually working. I've been a very working locomotive who's had a hard life, and it needs a bath. That's the kind of thing that I'm interested in. I haven't gotten the gumption or the courage yet to weather this, but I did a couple of years ago get the courage to weather another one of my LionChief locomotives. So, big difference, right? I mean, it feels like this thing has been working. The idea is that this feels more weathered, but it still has all the detail that I was talking about. The air pump, the air reservoir here, there's the air pump, Westinghouse air pump, a radiator or sort of a cooling zone for the pipes, and then the injectors and the sand lines and all that stuff. So, but as you can see, this is where I want to head with the switcher. But what's nice about the switcher is that it gives me more of an opportunity to maybe add a few more details. Kind of what inspired me to do this was actually my ON30 locomotive here. This is the Bachmann ON30, I forget what it is, 460. This is the Sharp Neck Limited. This is the coal company that will be operating, and this pulls just wonderful and also very nicely detailed cars, like ore cars. But again, this is, I forgot to mention this in the other ones, but there is a builder's plate, on this. there's a, you know, oh, it's not operating. Is it operating? No, it doesn't operate, but it does have a little, if you can see this, it has a little drawstring so that the engineer can pull it. You know, it's these kind of details that when I'm looking at it on the train, on the tracks, it makes me interested, and I like looking at it. So that's where I want to get to in terms of these extra details. So we're back here with the switcher. They do have the air reservoir right here, but there's no air pump, right? No air pump on either side. And that, when you add the air pump, that means that there has to be a whole bunch of piping to distribute the air to the air brakes and to all sorts of places. So what I want to do is get this thing kind of festooned with all sorts of like detail, and start to bring this away from just being a good runner, get some time and make it a model, make it a little bit more realistic. When you take a look at the detail on this, you can see there's the sand line. These are the two sand domes, and there's sand in here, and the idea is that these lines right here are supposed to take, there's like a little pipe that goes down to the wheels right here and in front to, you know, dispense sand in case of like it gets slippy, you know, to give it some traction. This has those pipes kind of just cast right into the die cast shell, and it's you know, it doesn't continue past this running board here. So what I want to do to start off is take a look at taking that type of detail and giving it a little bit more relief, and in the process start thinking about how to make that separately applied. So in a very simply, what I did on this side is I actually added a piece of wire that was about the right size for the pipe, and I just sort of glued it in there just to sort of see what it looks like. You know, I'm sort of finding my way on this in this process here, but that's one thing I did just to sort of see if that looks better, and I got to paint that a little better, but that's a start. So the other thing is I went to this outfit called Precision Scale Incorporated right here, and I ordered some small parts, brass parts that are really finely detailed. If you can see that, come on. And the idea here is that you can apply this Westinghouse air pump to the side of, actually it will be going on this side actually. And what I intend to do is start off by putting that on there and this is kind of where that would be on this type of locomotive. It would be on that location. And then from here, there's 3 or 4 different types of pipelines that come out that feed the air to the various portions of the locomotive. And then another thing I picked up was a air pump bracket, so it actually attaches to this, but I think this one's too big, so we're probably going to use that on some other locomotive. And the other thing that I got just to sort of get started on this, builder's plates, because the idea here is that the train, the locomotive, when they made it, they would put, like, you know, their stamp of approval and just to say where it was built. That would normally go where that little indentation is right there. That's what that little indentation is that I'm pointing to right there. That is supposed to represent, just sort of in relief, what would be a builder's plate. But what I did is I got builder's plates that are accurate to this locomotive by the Alco Corporation, and I'm going to put those on right here too. I'm going to start weathering the locomotive on both sides to look a little bit more like some of those other ones that I weathered. This whole bottom half, it just seems kind of empty, and it seems kind of fakey. I do a lot of research with some books that I have and online, looking at old photographs, and I'll create something which is, a reasonable facsimile of a super detailed version of a Lion Chief. It's time to be brave and try to make it a model, not just sort of a toy you run around a track. Go ahead and try to actually make it a little bit better. Begin to put your own personal touches on it. That's just something that I want to do. And I think this is a good one to start with because it's small and it helps me focus on the research for this particular locomotive. So as things go along, I will show you an example. But right now, I think I'm going to start off, sort of initiate this whole project by putting on the builder's plate. And just to show you what we're talking about here, this is, you can really read this if you look under a microscope. It's pretty small, but they actually did a pretty good job, at least for this scale, of getting it right. So we're going to go ahead and put this, looks like I have a little bit of flashing to take care of on the left-hand side there, but we'll get that put on. And there it is on the locomotive itself. So there it is on both sides now. We have the new builder's plate, and I'm going to keep on applying these details, and I'll give you progress as we go. But this is the beginning of the journey of super detailing a LionChief yard switcher. All right, thanks for watching, and please, if you know how to super detail terrains and I could be doing it a different way or better, please, let me know in the comments. I'm all about learning and getting better at what I do. Have a great day. Wire pipe.